Welcome to Club Soda's Mindful Drinking Festival. We're online, global, and as always, absolutely free. Hi, I'm Drew, and I'm one of the co-founders of Club Soda.
And I'm Laura, the other co-founder of Club Soda. We help you change your drinking in ways that help you live well. So whether you're looking to cut down, stop for a bit, or quit, you can find what you need from podcasts and books and courses on joinclubsoda.com. This festival, we've brought you an amazing lineup from over 100 people from across the world.
And our programme this time really is global.
Every day starts down under with me, Sarah. As well as organising the festival in Australia, I spend my time looking for alcohol-free alternatives and tips for people who choose not to drink, but who still want to live a social, fun and adventurous life.
And I'll be wrapping up each day here in the States. I'm Amanda, your US festival host and coordinator, and I'm also a mindset coach who helps women change their relationship with alcohol so that they can start living their most authentic life.
Each day with a rolling programme of inspirational panels, conversations, social events, and opportunities to discover new low and low alcohol drinks.
So whether you want inspiration to change your drinking,
Or to connect with other people,
or you want to discover and enjoy a new low and no alcohol drink,
The Mindful Drinking Festival is for you.
cheers!
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 cheers.
Hi,
Hey buddy, how you doing?
Hey, you all right?
Good. I'm
Are we
good.
ready? Are we ready to do this?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll pour my first beer and you can do the
Yeah,
intro.
I've just opened mine. Good evening, everyone, or good morning, or wherever you are in the world and wherever you're joining in. Thanks for joining us. My name's James. I'm one of the co-founders of Drop Brewing Co. Joining me to this side is Matt, who's our brand ambassador, and we're going to take you on a bit of a tour of the Big Drop range, tell you a little bit about Big Drop as a company and our history, and also give you a little bit of a kind of insight into kind of how our beers are made and what we do and what we try and do and strive to kind of do different things and experiment and push the boundaries with alcohol free. So as I said, I'm James. I'm one of the co-founders. Rob, my other co-founder, is luckily on holiday, so he's managed to dodge doing this evening, which is lucky for him because he's usually quite good at this, actually, to be fair. So we started Big Drop in 2016, and it was fair play to Rob. It was Rob's idea. Rob had just had his first child, and in 2014, and decided to stop drinking. He worked in a very busy law-based environment in the City of London, and he decided that with the imminent arrival of a child, now was a good time to stop drinking. But he still had to go to the pub, and he still had to go and lunch with people and do the whole kind of schmoozing thing that lawyers and legal experts have to do. But he couldn't find anything that he liked that was an alcohol-free option. He didn't want to drink sugary drinks because you can drink a few of those, but you're not going to want to spend an afternoon in the pub do it. And he didn't really enjoy any of the kind of mass-produced alcohol-free options that were out there at the time. So he thought, well, why isn't anyone doing this? Why isn't anyone creating a craft alternative that's an alcohol-free option? So he came to me with the idea. I initially gave him a funny look, and then thought it was great. I enjoy beer as well, but knew that I ran a business and I have a young family, and realized that there was also the need for me to kind of cut down and find a different lifestyle and a different relationship with alcohol and that sort of thing. So we created Big Drop. Our first beer came out in 2016, which was the stout, which is now called Galactic. The recipe of that hasn't really changed in the last 4 years, or nearly 4 years. After that, we made the Pale Ale, which is now called the Pine Trail. And then it went from there, really, and the business has grown and grown. And now, this year, we've got a team. We're up to 14 people in the team. We've got salespeople in Europe, and we're about to expand out to Australia and the United States. We're also in Canada, we're in Scandinavia, we're in the Netherlands, we're in Belgium, we're all over the place, really. We're in Hong Kong, we're in Singapore. It's pretty crazy. So what we're going to do for this 45-minute session is Matt, our brand ambassador, is going to take you through our range. And Matt's good at this. I'm less good at this. Matt's good at this. So Matt's
I don't know how
going
good I am on camera, but we'll see.
we'll soon find out. So Matt's going to take us through the range. We're not going to do all of them because we have quite a range of beers, and we do experiment and we do kind of push boundaries with beers. We've got beers with hibiscus in. We've got beers with lots of different kind of hop varieties and all that sort of thing in there, and it's a big range. So what we're going to do is talk about our core range, and we're also going to talk about some of the specials that we do as well. And if there's a little bit of time left, then we'll take you through some of the darker alternatives that we've got. But let's see how we go. And if you've got any questions as we go through, pop it into the chat. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, just pop it into the live chat, and we'll try and answer as we go through anything that we pick up. Nicola MC's just asked, are your team all alcohol free? I think I think some of us still drink full strength, but we strive, and the whole culture of the company is about, we've got people in the company who are completely alcohol free. We've got people in the company who still enjoy a full strength. We've got people in the company who are from a wine background or a spirits background, and they still take part in that. But the entire culture of the business is about responsible drinking and giving people the alternative, and it's about the choice. So it's not just about kind of having the entire culture of being a strict AF thing, but it's being mindful about having alcohol free as part of the lifestyle and part of the choice when you go out and you want to enjoy a drink, but not have the kind of penalties or the overheads of the alcohol being there. So, Matthew.
Over to me then. Angela, yes, our beards have got a lot bigger. Great comment. I love that. Would have loved meeting you in Spitalfield last year. So probably no further ado, straight into the beers. As James mentioned, the culture in the business isn't just about non-alcoholism, because we're not about taking your guns away in the form of no alcohol. We're about giving you an option. And if it's just a Tuesday and you need to wake up Wednesday fresh, there's an option. You've got to drive the car as an option. So it's not about being alcohol free. It's about giving people choices. So we'll start off with our lager. That way around. It's now named Uptown Craft Lager, and it is our second iteration of a mainstream lager. The first time round, it had a small trace of lactose in it, and it was obviously alienating a lot of vegan customers for only a small touch of lactose. So we went back to the drawing board and we came up with this, which is more of a Hellas style lager, not like your mainstream generic lagers coming out of the normal taps that you see everywhere. This is more of the craftier lager that's coming down the line. So when giving it a taste, the first note I get is like a strong mead. I get some fermented grains, and that comes from the extra grains we got in there. There's a little bit of oats, which is quite unusual for a lager, but it gives us body without adding those lactose, those stabilizers and things like that. Our brewer with this one very much so let the grain lead the way, and it took him a while because every time it felt like it was dropping short, and we don't want to bring out a beer that's not a good representation of a beer. So our lager before that wasn't good enough. We went back to the drawing board. It took nearly 2 years to get this right, and when we brought it out, it came the top lager in Europe in a non-alcoholic category. It's, for us, we get awards, but it's not about the award, it's about the representation of the beer.
I think one kind of really interesting thing to say, Matt, while we're doing this, is about kind of how we approach things. And when Johnny, who's our head brewer, and when Rob and I originally approached Johnny and said we wanted to make an AF beer, he said, no, you want to make a really great beer. It just so happens to be alcohol free. So the whole culture of the business is about making a great beer that doesn't kind of take away in flavor, but it just so happens to be a really great craft beer that's alcohol free.
Exactly. Can't say it better than that, to be honest. As I said, on the nose, I get a little bit of meat, but I get a nice lingering taste. I get some notes of hay and things like that. But for me, it's a fuller flavored lager, something you probably get in the Czech Republic or in parts of Germany where the lager's rested a little bit longer. It's got more flavor. And for me, it kind of strips away a lot of the generic lagers. When you look at this compared to others out there, there's some great ones. There are some, I'm not going to knock any of our competitors, but this is standing alone separately saying, lager should be full flavored as well as light and crispy. So for me, I've got, you've got notes of the Magnum, that is one of the hops in there, but you've also got the Herbsbacher in there, and they kind of just bring round the oats. And as I said, it's an unusual lager, but it is, for me, heads and shoulders above anything that you would find in every single bar and every single place. It's worth finding and giving it a try, and works really well with food. So that glass is empty. Should move on to the next one then, James.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna go with the Pine Trail next.
Yep, good
because
shout.
this was actually our most awarded beer. It was one of the original 3, and the recipe hasn't changed again. When we got onto the stout, you'll try that as well. But this came out, and although the company was aimed to create the stout, the idea was to get the stout. Rob loves stout. This was received better than anything else. Went straight in as best world's best non-alcoholic beverage. Blew everyone away, made everyone sit up and go, wait a minute, beers can actually be really good and alcohol-free. So I'm just going to crack that. I don't want to get any beer on my laptop.
Just show I'm pouring and not just staring at my feet.
Yeah. And you can be rest assured that none of us are drunk because this is alcohol-free, right?
Yeah.
So first thing with this one, it does have lactose in it, so it isn't for vegans. We are working on an iteration to add to the range that will be vegan, but it's a long journey, and we've been doing it for a long time to try and get it perfect. As I said, no beers come out that we aren't proud of. But this has got a real full body on there. It sits on the tongue, it lingers and gives you flavour. There's a nice bitterness, but also a freshness that it isn't. Some ales, some pale ales can be overpoweringly bitter and sit on your tongue, and they'll represent as a pale ale, but actually they're well on the way to being an IPA or a double IPA. And just because it's a good seller, it's named the wrong thing. But this is light, refreshing, but full-bodied and lots of flavour on there. Probably be our best seller, James.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the one that we kind of lead with, and that tends to be the everyman beer that people really, if people discover Big Drop, they'll usually discover us through the pale or the lager perhaps, and then they'll kind of go out and experiment with the rest of the range. But I'd definitely say this is kind of one of if not the flagship beer, I'd probably say, in our range.
Yeah, agreed. And the hops in this one are Magnum, Mosaic, and Amarillo. And Mosaic and Amarillo are probably the most popular hops, or were in the last few years in the UK. Once again, talking about full strength beer, there's a beer out by the name of that, one of those hops that is by far one of my favourite full strength beers. It's just lovely, especially on a cask. So the hops that they really work in this style of beer. And for me, that's why this beer works, because we've gone to those traditional, recognisable flavoured hops, put that in there with that body, and said to people, here you go, actually have a non-alcoholic version. For me, once again, it works amazing with food. James would probably call one of the others in a range barbecue beer, but this, for me, stand in the sun and have a bit of this, stood over some smoke, it's just going to be really comfortable to drink.
Really nice, goes really nicely with Thai or Asian fusion dishes. I think this and the Paradiso in particular goes wonderfully with, I think, kind of fish or lighter meats and that sort of thing. And I think the darker beers go with the kind of really the dark meats or the kind of overcharred grill food. It's fantastic. It's also worth mentioning as well that our core range, the 4 that we're going through to start with, are gluten-free and certified gluten-free as well. And as Matt said, we're working towards extending the availability of vegan friendly as well, because we know that there's an audience out there that we need to kind of make sure that we're catering to as well.
Yeah, I mean, the really good thing about our beers, as James mentioned, the gluten, because our recipes and the way we make our beers, we're not doing anything that a traditional brewer wouldn't do. We are making a beer the way a traditional brewer would do, but we strip our recipe back. We find a very unique yeast that works with us. And what happens is when the mash grain is lower, there's less gluten in there to be metabolized. And then it automatically comes out below the safety point. So you have to be less than 10 parts per million. You can't register less than 8 parts per million. And we sit somewhere around there. The safety mark is 20 parts per million. So we are well below that. Lots of people ask, how can you be a gluten-free and a beer? The truth is, there's various levels of gluten-free, and we are well within the safety level. But it can be confusing because it's made from grain. Mine's gone somewhere else. Haven't done this for 5 months. Had a good question there, James, from Mel B, about when we're looking to release in the States. We haven't got an exact date yet, have we?
No, we don't have an exact date. So we're looking to brew in the States domestically and launch within the next 6 months. And I can't really give you a closer date than that, but we're quite far down the line in terms of getting TTB approval and that sort of thing in terms of our labeling and kind of getting test brews done. So things that the ball's rolling nicely in terms of getting into the States, and it will be in the next few months. So Steph, we will be coming to the States, and we'll be brewing in the States as well. So we're on the way. We're on the way. Nico asked a question about where's our biggest market growth. It's hard to say really, because there's a lot going on at the moment. So we're particularly big in Europe. We're doing really well in the UK. We're about to launch into Australia very soon. We've finished a brew over there, and it's going into some big locations in the next few months. And that could be a big growth market for us. We're really excited about that. But obviously, we want to make sure that the UK is doing really well as well, because it's our home country. And at the same time, Scandinavia and Northern Europe are really into our beers. The drinking culture is probably slightly ahead of us in terms of taking low and no into consideration. And we see that as a big thing for us. So Sweden was our first international market. We entered Systembolaget in late 2017, I believe. And we want to make sure that that's a big one as well. In terms of consumer profile, it's worked out that it's kind of me and Rob to a certain extent, in that it's fairly balanced between male and female, and it's probably the 30 plus to 45 that tend to drink it. We don't really get a large amount of millennials drink it, or that are into the kind of the AF beers that we see, but they are still there. And if they have enjoyed beers in the past and they want to move to a different lifestyle and a different kind of mindful drinking thought process, then Big Drop is there for them as well. So we don't tend to.
That's good to mention. James. Lifestyle changes seem to lead our customers to find us, whether it be because like Rob, you found that your child's on the way and you need to cut back, or like I mentioned, you have an office, you've found a new job, you have to be there fresh on Wednesday morning. But these lifestyle changes come along. For example, our CEO, the one who runs a lot of our stuff, is actually he's lactose intolerant, so he's not vegan, but he couldn't try a lot of our beers for a while, and that led us to look down that road. So when we were catering for the first vegan beer, it wasn't about being vegan, it was about including everybody. And lactose intolerance, as veganism, they aren't the biggest customer base, but they're also just as important when you're talking about catering for everybody.
I think we'll just do one. We'll do just one more question, and then I think we'll move on to the Paradiso, I think, which is our Citra. Lorna was asking, are Big Drop available in pubs and restaurants in normal times? Yes, we are. So a little bit of backstory. At the start of this year, the plan was to move from the fridges in the pubs and bars that we're in. So we're in All Bar One, we were in Barworks, we were in Brewhouse and Kitchen, we were in a lot of smaller chains around the UK. We were available in some great places in Manchester and Liverpool and Birmingham and Leeds and all over and in Europe and restaurants and that sort of thing. And we were going to move to the front of the bar. The big plan was to move to the front of the bar, so we'd be on draft and we'd really kind of be visible, and it would be one of those choices where it's about choice. You've got perhaps one really big meaty 7.2% double dry hopped IPA for the real kind of craft beer explorer, and then you've got a session one, which is probably a 3.8 or a 4.2, and then you've got a Big Drop. And that was the strategy for the year, and it's about the choice, and you can mix and match, or you can stick to your AF, and it's all about choice. And then lockdown came along, and the whole front of bar and being on draft thing changed quite rapidly. So now things are opening back up. We're now in Nando's, and we're starting to appear in more restaurants, and you'll start to see us in more and more places. Best thing to do is go to our website, look at go to the where to buy page, and you'll be able to see the nationwide chains and that sort of thing that stock us. And you'll also be able to see the off-trade places that also have, the Ocados, the Waitrose, the Sainsbury's, the Morrisons of the world. You'll be able to go to see all of those, and also your independent bottle shops as well. You can check out all those there as well.
That's a nice segue onto this beer as well, James, because this was the first one that we put in a keg.
It's my favourite.
Yeah, your favourite. And when we're talking about non-alcoholic members of staff, John, who is one of our sales guys, he is totally AF. He's a young lad, AF, and he'll drink a keg of this a week if he had a chance. We have to ration him, basically. So this one is a real crowd pleaser. This, for me, is really crossing over to the American market. It has some of those big flavors that come out of the States. So we're using Chinook, Simcoe. We've got Cascade, Citra, and then what's the last one?
Columbus.
Pretty much all American hops. And they're bold and they're lovely, and they bring around grapefruit flavors and off the nose. It's like a juice box almost. If you were to imagine a full glass of juice mixed with some beer, that's what I'm getting off my nose. It is very, very citrusy and very juicy, but the bitterness is not as extreme as the last one. It's a little bit more rounded, and it comes off sweeter. So for me, that appeals to the American market, the New England IPAs, and actually the younger drinkers who are used to slightly sweeter beers as well. Hence the reason James loves it. So he's a massive sweet tooth.
Guilty.
So for me, that one kind of changed the game. When it came out, it made pubs realize that you could cater off of our range to a lot of different people. And we started having conversations with pubs where we said, look at the way drinkers are drinking, they're changing. Younger people are drinking less and they only drink on occasions. And I don't want to live in a world where there's lots of chain coffee shops and no pubs left. So you need to provide more options for your customers so they come in and spend their time in an environment that caters to everybody. Otherwise, they will go to a coffee shop and they'll sit in a coffee shop and spend twice the amount of money they could do in your bar, and they shouldn't be, because we as a British nation have pubs as part of our culture, and I'd hate to see all those independent pubs and restaurants close down, especially as we come out of one of the worst times in the last 100 years for the hospitality industry. You need to include more drinks, and that's where this range comes in. Right, so we should move on to the last of the core range. This last one, lovely, beautiful label, Galactic Stout. This one is really where the beer industry sat up and woke up and went, oh my God, these guys are onto something. So it launched at the same time as the Pale Ale and our original iteration of the lager, but it went straight in and won second best stout in the world in the full alcohol category. So what we argued was, we didn't get it. I said, if it's non-alcoholic and it beats everyone else, it should be the best in the world. But they said, no, it's the second best in the world. But for me, you can sit there and go, that's the second best stout in the world. There's only one stout better than that. And not only that, it's won it twice like that. So there's only had two beers better than that in the world in the full alcohol category. So when a lot of people dismiss alcohol-free beers, it's because they haven't tasted a good one, not because the category is not worth it. If you're tasting along with this at home, please just take the first notes, your first sip, and just list the flavors that you can come up with. And I always do this in a bar, and I say, what do you want your stout to taste like? What are the 4 or 5 flavor profiles you want? And for me, with a stout, you want a nice, rich, deep coffee flavor, maybe some bitter dark chocolate. You want a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of smoke. And if you taste this beer, it does deliver all of those in that order. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And finishes with a sweet, smoky, coffee, chocolatey mix on the tongue. And it's got weight as well. A lot of our competitors have no weight because they haven't brewed the same way as we did. We brewed a beer and we just kept the ABV down. So we didn't have to water it down. We didn't have to boil it. We didn't have to chemically strip it. We haven't done anything to the beer. This is how it comes out of the barrel. And honestly, I wouldn't be able to pick this out as a non-alcoholic beer if you gave me 10 stouts in a row. I honestly could not pick this out.
No. And with these World Beer Awards and that sort of thing, these are blind taste tested, so they don't know what the ABV is going in. So they're just looking for quality, they're looking for balance, they're looking for flavor forward tastes, and they're looking for depth. And that's the really great thing that the stout gives, is this is kind of it's a bit of a journey in terms of what you go through and what flavors you pick up. And as Matt says, you get the chocolatey flavors, you get the kind of the bitter hit, and then you get the toasted malts as well. And it's if you're, and the really funny thing we've had in the past is where people have come and tried it at our stand. And I don't know if you've been to one of the mindful drinking festivals, or if you come to see us at another show, and people will come to the stand and they'll go through the range, and we'll say, oh, this is, do you want to try our stout? And they'll say, oh, yes, please. And we'll pour the stout for them, and they'll go, oh, I don't like that. So you say, well, what stouts do you usually drink? And they say, oh, I don't like stout. And there's a kind of strange correlation between people thinking that if you take the alcohol away, that there should be some sort of flavor difference. And the whole point that we're trying to do is that there should be no flavor difference. It should taste like a really rich, full-bodied, beefy, chunky stout.
On the converse of that, I get a lot of women at festivals who say, I don't drink stout. I've only ever had a Guinness. I didn't like it. And when they try this, the difference is the bitterness can be increased on an alcoholic version. So this comes off slightly sweeter, still full body and all that. But to a palate that's never really enjoyed stout, it can blow you away. Because if you like coffee and you like sweeter coffee, you're going to love this. And me and some of the other sales guys actually love to freak people out on the train in the morning by drinking that instead of a coffee. So you're sitting on the train having a beer and seeing other travelers look at you like you're a mental.
That's pretty crazy. So you'll get a different taste profile as well. If you chill it right down, it changes the kind of, I don't know if it necessarily changes the order that you get the flavors in, or just the balance of the flavors, but it is a good alternative to like a nitro cold brew in the morning.
Exactly.
It's a good one to have.
It probably has a lot less sugar.
Yeah, and it turns heads. There's no caffeine. There's far less sugar in it. And if you want people to look at you, that's what will happen.
Yeah, exactly. And we love to be looked at. So that's the first four. Originally only 3, and then we brought the Paradiso out. We're now going to move on to our specials. And the reason we wanted to bring out specials is because as we grew as a business, more and more supermarkets and non-traditional outlets started looking at us, and we wanted to still appeal to the traditional beer drinker, be a craft drinker, be a pub, be a festival. It was about, once again, staying relevant, building on our craft credentials and showing that we could do more than just what we've done already. And we actually did a collaboration pack last year. So at the end of last year, we launched 4 amazing beers with 4 amazing breweries, and all of them different, something we had never done before. And it was received so well. So, for example, that black IPA, I reckon we should have put it into awards because people were raving about it, literally. Yeah, I've not got one left. I can't. It's the only one in the range I don't have.
It's absolutely cracking range, and we work. It is about pushing boundaries and experimenting and doing things that craft breweries tend to do all the time, but we wanted to try and do as well. And it's just kind of push the boundaries, work with other people, experiment with things, and get people to try or get people to try different ways in to be able to kind of understand what you can really do with alcohol-free beers. So we worked with 4 breweries. We made 4 different styles of beer. We made a raspberry goza, we made a hibiscus saison, we made the black IPA, and I can't remember what was the other one.
Little IPA. It was a double hop lager. Yeah, and that was my favorite out of the pack. Like everyone had their favorite, but I've
absolutely sold so fast I couldn't get hold of it anymore. So that's probably why I've forgotten it. And it was about pushing boundaries. And now we also did the collab fest with Brewdog. We did an AF for them, so we did a hazelnut porter, which is now part of our range. And we really like experimenting. Johnny, our head brewer, was originally at the Wild Beer Company, and he is an experimental brewer. He lives and breathes beer to an unhealthy level, but he really likes pushing boundaries of experimental brewing. And he's taken everything that he understood with brewing high strength beers and flipped it on its head and now makes incredible alcohol free beers. So the latest ones we've done are these summer specials, which are amazing. I would say that, but they're absolutely fantastic. So you've got the poolside, which is my particular favorite, which is a double dry hopped IPA. Which is a really beautiful beer. And then you've got the Kodama, which is again, it's an experimental beer. We're using Japanese hops, You've got kind of hints of wine flavors in there in the aftertaste and that sort of thing. And kind of Matt can explain that a little bit more. And they're fantastically refreshing summer beers as well, and they've gone down brilliantly well. And everyone keeps saying they make them the year round, but then they'd stop being special, so we're not going to.
I'm going to taste the Kendama first, James.
Yeah.
The reason being is that this one is my favourite out of the special because it's on the lighter style. And I get a lot of Mick taken out of me as a beer history. I'm more of a spirits man. I started in the spirits industry, and I would always just drink Carling, and I got absolutely abused for it. But the truth is, I like a light, refreshing beer, and this, for me, ticks a lot of those boxes. As James said, there's some winey, crispier notes in there, but it's refreshing, smooth, not too heavy. There's a question about single hop variety. This is more like a single hop because it's subtler. But the truth is, with our beers, we do like to have a couple of hops in there to give us depth because we haven't got the full fermentation. Nice. I really love that. I really like that.
If you do get yourselves a can of Kendama, see if you can figure out what the flavor scale is on the back, because it's in Japanese. I really
love to make it difficult.
I really hope I translated it right when I did the artwork.
Probably swearing at someone over there. We're actually doing we're doing a discount on our summer specials at the moment. I'm sure it'll pop up and scroll along in a second. Look at that, perfect timing. So if you order before midnight tonight, you'll get 15% off of the summer specials. It's definitely worth taking advantage. The code word is Cannonball. But yeah, take advantage of that because once they're gone, basically. Yeah. We might do them again next year, but there's no guarantee that will happen depending on how our development goes along.
Yeah. So I'm afraid it's UK store only at the moment. There's plans for international stores, but if you're in the UK and you want to try the summer specials, you can get 15% off the Kendama and the poolside if you order before midnight tonight using the discount code Cannonball. Poolside, Matt.
Poolside, yes. You guys absolutely rave about this. I love the artwork of this. Did you do this one, James?
I did. Yeah. So I'm a graphic designer traditionally a graphic designer by trade. I was a graphic designer for about 20 years or so. So I came up with the whole big drop thing, but now I've kind of retired gracefully and just do the special editions now and hand over most of our packaging over to another agency. But now and again they let me play with my crayons and do some artwork. So the summer specials were me.
And this one really is summery. So off the first sip, I get quite a lot of pineapple. Not so much like pineapple juice, but like soft hints of pineapple. And there's also a little bit of pine, a little dryness that you get from the gin flavors. There's a dry pine on the back as well. So if you imagine sitting by a pool with your feet and the sun like dangling in the pool and the sun blazing on you, this is going to tick a lot of boxes. Nicola MC said she wishes doing a tasting. This will be available to watch back on YouTube. You could join in when they arrive. Order them now. But yeah, like this one's got another 4 hops again. Sorry, Facebook user that wants single hops. But more Mutuaka. Is that Kiwi hop, James?
I believe it is. Yes.
And then you've got the Mosaic, which brings those juicy notes again. You got the Chinook and the Azaka. Once again, Johnny really wants to experiment and find the flavors that are kind of cutting edge and moving forwards. And this, I would not be surprised if you saw that hop combination coming up in a full strength beer soon, because pineapple notes on the top of this with a light finish it's a summer beer. Like I can imagine a brewery out there making a lot of money off that and full strength somewhere. Like it would just blow people away. Yeah.
And yeah, this is, perfect summer's day beer. I think there's some of the specials that we're not covering today. We've got the sour in particular, which is part of our crafted range, is another great kind of thirst quencher, great entry level sour. Not too kind of challenging in terms of kind of shriveling your face up, but just really nice, refreshing kind of. I think someone called it a lawnmower beer, which is the kind of the fresh cut grass scent kind of feel to it. It's really, really nice with just that kind of vinegary hit at the end. But the port side, in terms of kind of refreshing levels, it's kind of tango slap refreshing. So
maybe that should be the advert. Right, so those are the 6 we've done. We're probably going to move on to 2 more specials that we've got in our craft range. Anyone that's got a question might want to pop in now. Just pop it on and we'll try and answer it just before the end, because we've only got about 15 minutes, 20 minutes left. Anything you want to pop in there, James? We just move on.
Laura, we don't ship to the US at the moment, I'm afraid. We are planning, we are getting things in motion in terms of brewing over in the States and distributing in the States as well. It won't be the summer specials just yet, but it will be a selection of big drops available to you hopefully soon. Laura, if you could let us know whereabouts you are in the States as well, I can, and if you sign up to our mailing list on our main website, then any more announcements that we do, we will be sure to let people in the States know as and when we're launching out. Distribution in South Africa, we don't have any distribution in South Africa at the moment. It's not something that we have looked at just yet, but we do have an international sales manager. He is always keen to open up, new relationships with distributors. So if you do want Big Drop in South Africa or know anyone that has distribution routes in South Africa, by all means get in touch with us and we'll see what we can do.
The best email address for that is probably info@BigDropBrew, right?
Yeah, or visit our website, go to the contact, and there's a trade inquiries form directly on the website, and that will go straight to the man in the know. Nice.
Right, we're going to move on to one of my favorite beers in our range because of its history, right? We're going to talk about Woodcutter Brownow. And now the brown ale has been a bit of a passion. We got approached by a small brewery down in Wales to try and help make a beer for some patients with dementia in the NHS Trust in Swansea. And obviously, we want to do the best. We want to include people. So we're not going to take full credit for this beer. We worked with those guys, and they actually opened a pub in the dementia ward in the hospital in Swansea called the Sundown Tavern. And basically what the idea is that the patients with full they don't really know what's going on, but they don't know why they can't have a beer. So they can go down the end of the hospital, walk into a makeshift pub and have a pint of beer like they had no dementia at all. And for me, that's a personally beautiful story, something I really, really connected with as a brand. But also the beer is absolutely banging. Unfortunately, it's one of our only beers that isn't gluten-free.
Yeah, it's a single hop.
It's only 2 parts per million. It's only 2 parts per million. I got that.
That I just realised it's a single hop, Matt. So only uses
wow! There we go. Single hop.
There we go. Job done. Yeah. Facebook user.
So for me, this is there you go. Facebook user. For me, this is on the journey to becoming a stout. So it's got rich coffee and toffee notes together. It's not chocolate in there, but you do have nuttiness and coffeeness together. Definitely full bodied. It feels like heavy, like a real dark, rich ale. But finishes on a slightly sweet, bitter end. But once again, it's not on the full stream of being a stout. Imagine maybe 2 or 3 steps down from the stout. And the reason we went along the journey of a brown ale is because the customers that were probably likely to have dementia at that age will definitely remember a brown ale. Brown ales have kind of fallen out of the marketplace at the moment, but they will come back. But their generation probably knew that beer very, very well. So it's a nice beer to provide. As I said, it's a really lovely story. It wasn't our journey to start, but it was our journey to help finish. And, anytime we can help the NHS, it is always going to be a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it is another great kind of proof of brew that you can do really interesting things with traditional styles. We've got a golden ale that we're working on re-releasing at the moment. And you can do some really interesting things with it. And you can kind of, it's all about the experimentation. And again, it's all about giving people choice.
Cool. And then we'll probably move on to the last one for today. Really cool name, Off-Piste Hazelnut Porter. But this was probably our fastest selling beer last year. Came out on a short run right at the end of the summer, leading into the winter, and it flew. Could not keep it on the shelf. It just disappeared. And we decided it had to be part of the range, not the core range, but the crafted range. As we mentioned, we want to stay relevant, we want to stay crafty, and we want to show off what we can do. This is like a banging porter with a nice, natural, nutty essence in there. Unfortunately, it does contain nuts, so if you are nut allergic, you can't have it. I'm sorry. But if it didn't have natural essences, it wouldn't be worth having, to be honest.
And it's a single hop.
Another single hop. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. So
Just
we are
use
today. So we actually came up with this recipe in our collab fest last year, but we tweaked it, worked it, and I believe this is a new recipe, but better. And it will be available in Northern Europe as well. This is quite a popular flavour over Scandinavia.
Yeah, so I think it's going to Finland and I believe Norway as well. Just the flavour profile is different. We did a winter ale a few years back, which was definitely an acquired taste, which had cloves, and it was kind of like a mulled wine beer, I suppose, in terms of what was in there. And it sold fantastically well in the far northern parts of Europe, and that's where that ends.
It was a good beer. Actually, that was the first beer I ever tasted of Big Drop.
It was really good.
When we were original before I came over.
Definitely a Marmite beer though, and I think it, in terms of making commercially viable beers, which we sometimes have to do, as well as kind of crazy things, these crazy collabs and that sort of thing, it was an acquired taste. And I think we may revisit it, and it may come out as maybe as a collaboration or a special edition in the future. And we're looking at what we're doing with the alternative to the counterbalance to the summer series, and what's going to happen with the winter series. And there's some really interesting things going on there, which we'll be announcing soon. So if you give us a follow on Facebook or on Instagram, or sign up for our updates on our website, our email updates, and you'll see what we're doing and the sorts of things we're releasing as well. So there's lots going on. So it's take a look, give us a follow on those channels, and keep in touch. And obviously, if you want to see it in your country and you're tuning in from anywhere other than the UK, drop us a message and we can probably give you some more news soon. If you're in Australia, definitely stay tuned. If you're in the US, keep your eyes peeled as well. And obviously, we're already in Canada through the LCBO, and there's plans to extend that nationwide in Canada in the next 6 to 12 months as well. So there's lots of big plans going on. It's a really busy, exciting time for us.
Yeah, with this hazelnut porter, if anyone came and visited us at the Berlin cocktail bar Coven, me and Si were doing a stand there. There was a few Americans over actually, so they might have tried this. It was the one we were pouring off tap, and it literally had a queue. I don't see many people queuing for non-alcoholic porter in the world, and it was lovely to see at one of the biggest bar shows in the world. So, truth is, we at Big Drop want to provide you a great beer. We want to provide you a great example of that beer, but also we're open to advice and tips and comments, and we want to be there for you guys. So please do follow us. I know the girls in the office really want to get some followers on the Instagram.
Totally.
Go up.
One other thing to mention as well.
Yeah, it'd be lovely to hear some feedback and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got 45 seconds left. One thing I just want to mention before we go is that we're currently pouring free beers for NHS staff at NHS sites around the UK. So John and the guys are turning up with the Big Drop van, flipping open the back doors and pouring 3 pints of Citra and the Uptown Craft Lager for NHS members of staff. So if you go to our website and find the blog post about that, you can nominate a hospital for us to turn up at and thank the staff. Also, if you go to our website, if you're an NHS member of staff or emergency services staff in the UK, you can get a discount on our store, which you can use as often as you like. Just go to our website, go to the UK store, and there's information for NHS discounts on there as well. It's just a little way for us to say thank you, because there's there's people doing amazing things, and then there's the doctors and nurses of this world who are just doing absolutely incredible things at the moment. So it's just another little way for us to say thank you. And I think on that note, that's probably our time up. So thanks so much to everyone for joining in this evening. Final little message from my friends who sent me this print today. I'm James, that's been Matt. Thank you so much to everyone for joining in. And as Bill and Ted would say, be excellent to each other.
Love
Thanks,
it.
guys. Have a great one.
Bye.